Okay, we're back again. All right, we're back again. I closed all my apps. Hopefully, I can get this up and running. Keep it running, damn it. All right, closed all the apps there. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I closed all my apps on my phone. Hopefully, this runs a little smoother. All right. What up? What up? I'll let it get populated a little bit. We had two or three people in here. So this Dwight Howard thing is just hilarious to me. Um, because the spin on Twitter, all right, what's good? What's good? So yeah, hopefully it'll stay up this time. Just I closed all my apps, and yeah, we'll figure it out. I got the do not disturb, so we don't have any disasters like last time. I was thinking uh, I took a call on the podcast last time when that dude interrupted me with the call. I took a call and then I think I said my address out loud, and that was also after making Instagram videos making fun of Tekashi 6ix9ine. So any of the gangsters affiliated with Tekashi 6ix9ine, these are just jokes. Please do not do any research into my podcast and show up at my doorstep. That would not. Um, I'm sure it's very tragic what's happened to Takashi, and you know, rape jokes aside, it's horrific what the prison system has become. That's like actually, it's actually horrific that's like it shows the bias against men in society when like it's automatically a joke like that you're going to get forcibly raped in the ass. Well, forcibly is a little redundant. I guess if you're getting raped in the ass, it would imply that it's forcibly, but it kind of rolls better. Forcibly raped in the ass. Um, it's always the big joke that somebody's going to jail. How well would they hold up in jail? Like how soon will they get their ass penetrated by some aggressive, um, pseudo homosexual behavior? Um, and that's I guess that's extra incentive to not to obey your government. They don't. You don't see any big programs trying to end rape in prison. It's kind of just comes with the territory. Like disobey the laws, you're going to get raped, and people are going to laugh about it. And make jokes while you're being raped in prison. And so best of luck to Kashi 6ix9ine out there. Just making some jokes. We're best of luck. Hopefully you beat the system. We're all trying to beat this system out here. And yeah, dude, I've never been arrested um, because all cops are racist and they give white people a pass. Never mind that I've never actually done anything warranting my arrest. That's not important. It's only because of my skin that I haven't been thrown in a cage and raped. And you know, people like will constantly like that's the big thing in comedy right now is like for every black comedian they have to have a joke about being profiled by the police, and it's like there's no yeah, I've been lucky because often I find myself slightly buzzed driving home from the comedy club. So theoretically, if I get pulled over, I could definitely get a DUI. And so it's like, you know, I've been lucky, and but I take precautions. I definitely I drink coffee before I get on the road. You know, I'll have like two beers over like over like a 3 hour period, two like pints of beer. So that's probably like three or four drinks, but over three over like 3 hours. I'll drink over 2 hours before the show, and then the show's an hour. So it's been like 3 hours, and then I'll have a coffee before I get on the road for like the 9 minute drive home down down from the valley into Hollywood. So um, not not too reckless, but theoretically, if I did get pulled over, I could blow hot for a DUI. So yeah, that sucks, Dirtweed. That's a rough one. Um, Especially if you get in a wreck, man, that's rough when you're drinking. They say the thing to do is if you have alcohol in the car, if you get in a wreck, to stop yourself from getting a DUI. Here's like I heard this recently. You should you should plainly be drinking at like after the wreck. Like you get out, you see the other person. You should have like some alcohol in your hand at that moment, so that then you can say that, oh, I wasn't drinking before I crashed. I crashed, and then from the stress of crashing, I started drinking. You can, and so they can't prove that you started drinking before you drove. You could just say, "Oh my God, I was so stressed immediately when I crashed. I started drinking." And so little inside tip there for all you lawbreakers, you menacing lawbreakers out there. Um, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a few beers over a few hours, and and then having a coffee and taking a short drive home. I think that's you're yeah, yeah, you're still like in control of your facilities. You're not slurring and half falling asleep, and like as long as it's not a long drive, and as long as you get some coffee before you get in the car, and it's been like just a handful of drinks over the like one drink per hour is like how I measure it. Um, you know, but I kind of gauge it based on how I feel. Like there's been a couple times where I'm like, I really need a coffee before I get on the road. But anyway, let's get into this Dwight Howard thing, because okay, so this tranny with a lot of followers on Twitter, yeah, moderation and discipline. That's all it comes down to. Mainly the people that get in trouble for DUIs are they're driving like an asshole, and they really kind of don't need to be on the road. It's fucking dangerous. Um, but so this tranny on Twitter named Mason Elige accused the NBA player Dwight Howard of sexual harassment and threatening his life in a series of tweets. I love how they say his life, even though this seems like it's trying to be some kind of a progressive. Um, the author who identifies as a gay man, but it dresses up like a chick. I'm so confused. Um, I I think that's the purpose of all the gender dysphoria nonsense, is just to confuse the shit out of you and like troll conservatives. I really what it is like they're just looking for attention, and I don't like, just speaking to the phenomena in general. There's no way to tell. Like there's no null hypothesis for whether people are being honest about like feeling like you're in the wrong gender, for your body. It's like you have to read people's minds to believe that that's true. Like there's no way to tell. There's no null hypothesis to tell whether or not this isn't just some form of mental illness. Like, and the suicide rates among these people is insane. And people say, oh, that's because of the blowback, because people are so transphobic. And it's like, I don't know. When you do that to yourself, you're severely limiting the pool of people that are going to be comfortable being your friend or being romantic with you at all. You're really limiting yourself to like a niche fetish group. And so, yeah, it's going to lead to some ostracism, because it's just very strange to cut your genitals, to cut your dick off and get surgery because you have this idea that you have the wrong gender, you have the brain of the wrong gender. And then another point in general about the trans phenomenon is like, it's a weird contradiction, because on one hand the left says that there are no biological differences between male and female brains, that we need to have total equality in the workplace, because and women need to make just as much total money as men, because we need everything to be equal because we're all the same. So if we're all the same, then how can someone be born with the opposite gender brain in the opposite gender body? I thought there weren't female brains. So how can you be born into a male body with a female brain and feel like you're a woman, even though you have the body of a man? If male and female brains are just the same, which I don't agree with that at all. There's clear differences in male and female psychology, and the IQ bell curves between men occupy the lowest of the low end of the spectrum and the highest of the high, and women sit more generally in the middle. That's why you have more homeless men and more super genius men, super genius inventors and innovators and everything like that. And then you have more generally in the middle kind of competent women. So I don't agree with that dynamic, that there's no difference between the male and female brain. It's just dumb. But just the contradiction on its face of there's a male and there's a female brain for trans people, but for regular people, no, they're all the same. Dirtweed says, I knew someone doing this. Dude I met while working in a restaurant was a girl when I left that job. It's a weird thing, man. It's a weird thing, and it's weird how like we're not supposed to treat it weird. We're not supposed to treat it as weird, and it's like this rollout of this needs to be accepted, and that was so back to the Dwight Howard thing. That was the narrative that Twitter spun it with. Oh, this situation with this tranny accusing Dwight Howard of these things reveals homophobia and transphobia on Twitter. That was the big story on Twitter, that this situation reveals the homophobia and transphobia. That's the big issue with this story. Now, to me, the bigger issue seems to be this person doesn't provide evidence that Dwight Howard had any kind of contact with him at all. Like, there's these audio recordings where it's supposedly Dwight Howard's voice, and there's these audio recordings, so it's supposed to sound like Dwight Howard's voice, where they're talking about like their relationship, and like he's on the road playing NBA games, and then this big story comes out that, oh, he's like been hooking up with all these trans women, and that he has harassed this person on Twitter. And it's like, you're putting Dwight. Yeah, it seems like a big ploy for attention because people like they this the Twitter tranny here. We'll call her Mason. Um, so Mason posts these like Instagram photos of DMs supposedly with Dwight Howard, and all the bubbles, all the chat bubbles are colored white. Well, the chat bubbles that you send on Instagram DMs are gray. And so it's obviously been doctored in the video glitches when she's scrolling down on these DMs she's trying to show everybody. And it seems so weird. And the voice that is supposedly Dwight Howard doesn't uh, quite sound like him. It's kind of just a, generic large black dude voice. He keeps calling him Dwight over and over and like stating these things. It's like seems very fake, but like that's the big story is the homophobia and the transphobia because people were making jokes about Dwight Howard liking trannies, and I think the bigger issue is like what is being alleged here for this all to come out. It seems like an unjustified like label thrown at Dwight. So now that's what he's gonna be known as is like he's gonna get that Eddie Murphy stigma, especially in the black community. You don't want this to like come out and then all the homies like look at you like, man, you've been messing around with those retooled those retooled trannies, dude. You're messing around with the retooled machinery. You're messing around with that damn oh dude, them gender wizards. The gender wizards that just cross that line back and forth, dude. Gender border hoppers, that's what they are. They're border hoppers of the gender persuasion. And I don't know. So now he's gonna have to deal with all those locker room jokes and like Twitter jokes and anything he posts on social media is gonna be tranny jokes. And I think the main story is this like unsubstantiated accusations that this weird tranny person on Twitter is blowing up his spot like for allegedly being harassed by Dwight Howard. Like I don't know, man. It's just goofy. And then Dwight Howard is out right now. His injury is a gluteus injury, and so his ass muscles are out of commission. Now, that does lend some evidence. I'm not joking. You can look up Dwight Howard right now. He's been out the past couple of games. I play NBA daily fantasy, so I've been paying attention to the Wizards roster and when they got because when Dwight is out, they go small ball and the game is way faster and they score a lot of points and there's no defense. So those are the games you want to target for fantasy. And so I've been looking at Dwight Howard is out for the last couple of games and he has a gluteus injury, a glute. That gluteus maximus got maximized, dude. It got maximized and minimized, bruh. That was one of the things that the tranny was saying that Dwight wanted to be pegged in his rear end. And, to each his own, Dwight. I don't know. It's just so weird. So weird, dude. And then this person, the Twitter tranny, has supposedly tried to expose people for being gay before and ended up like being exposed for faking the whole thing. Dr. Zarkloff says, we should refer to the doctor here. Oh yeah, the refurbished genitalia, dude. You getting that knockoff, that bootleg out of the trunk, equipment. Got a little bootleg equipment there, bruh. Dr. Zarkloff says anthropologists can tell the difference between a male and a female no matter how messed up the corpse may be. Yeah, it's the density of the bones. the width of the shoulders. Um, yeah, there's just so much. The females have wider hips, and yeah, it's just weird when it's immediately like tried to. They're trying to immediately normalize like you have a subjective feeling that no one can disprove that you supposedly feel like the opposite gender, and so you're going to undergo these radical transformational surgeries to remodel your genitalia situation like some goddamn Play-Doh and turn you into this like weird uh imagined like make believe version of the opposite gender. And then the big issue was that see the big issue with that see is if you don't 100% accept it. That's the big issue. Okay? If you don't want to be tricked into fucking a tranny, you're a bigot. Um, I had this happen to me one time. I was on these dating apps out here when I first came out here and lived in Westchester over by LAX. And I was bored one day. I didn't have anything planned for the day. And I was texting back and forth with this chick on the dating apps. And it was this black chick. She looked pretty in the pictures and everything. And you know me, I love the dark arts, the dark persuasions over there, them black bunnies. Um, oh, we're breaking down the transgender phenomenon here, Scooter or Scooper Sketchy. So, um, I was texting back and forth with her, and it was going good. And she was like, "You know what? Just come over." And then she sent me her address, and I was like, "Okay, bet." And it seemed a little forward of her, but I was like, she's into it, so let's do this. So I drove from LAX to downtown LA, which is like an hour and a half of traffic, middle of the day. Got down to downtown, figured out a parking spot, parking as hell in downtown LA. And it's all grimy and congested, and I hate downtown LA, man. I hate it. And there's so many goddamn homeless people everywhere pulling their dicks out and shit. Shooting heroin into their dicks, ladies and gentlemen. I hate downtown, but so I went up to downtown, and I got into her apartment complex, right? And she told me the address of the complex, but not what apartment number she was in. So I get in the lobby of this apartment, and I don't know which floor to go to, what number it is. So I'm calling her, no answer, calling her, no answer, calling her, no answer. I'm just pissed off. Like, I already drove all this way. You just gonna not answer your phone now? Finally, you get it. Finally, she picks up. And I'm like, "Hey, what floor are you on? I'm coming up." And she's like, "Well," and she's like trying to change the subject and everything. I'm like, "I'm standing in the lobby. We could talk about other subjects if you want. Why not come up there?" But there's not gonna be a lot of talking. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna cut through the conversation and get right to the goodness. Get right to that juicy, the cream filling. And so she finally gets around to saying, "Before you come up, I got to tell you something." And then I immediately knew what was going to happen. And she's like, "Well, I have to tell you that I was not born a woman." And I was like, what you really should have done was told me that in the profile of the dating app, not after I drive an hour and a half. You think like she just wanted to get me like pot committed to the situation. Like, well, I did already make the drive. I'm not going to let a possible dick get in the way of my good time. A possible another dick in the room. I'm not going to let that get in the way of my good time. I mean, I'm not a bigot or anything, so let's do this. Like, just the deception alone to do that is enough to be like, all right, what the fuck? Do I got any bud? I do not. My roommate has a little weed vapor pen, but I need to lay off that actually because I come home and I try to work on screenplay and shit, and the first thing I do is take a puff of that weed, and then like if you hit it when you're tired, a little bit tired, and then try to like get into some writing or whatever, I just fucking crash and burn. Um, you got any but? Oh, you saying I should have asked the tranny that? Yeah, if there's any way to make the situation more socially awkward, let's both get high and try to negotiate this situation. Um, but yeah, man, she just expected me to come right up after waiting to tell me before I drove you there, before I drove there, waiting to tell me that she was actually a dude. And it's just absurd, man. Like you at least got to have something else in your pocket. You at least got to be like, connected to some producers in Hollywood and be like, hey, I wasn't born a woman, but I can give you a role in the next Tom Cruise movie. It's going to be great. You're going to be working right alongside Tom, and you do have to go to some Scientology meetings. But hey, we're going to give you $10 million, and you're not going to be able to get any of these experiences out of your memory. You won't be able to pay to scorch these memories out of your head, but you can get a Lamborghini, and that'll make you forget all about that pegging you took in that downtown hotel. Yeah, man, she could have goddamn she could have Weinsteined me, you know. I got a little opportunity in Hollywood for me, you know. Is that all you got? Is your fake pussy and dick up there? Is that all that's going on? What about a role in Hollywood? What about alongside Tom Cruise? And then like I'd be in a scene with Tom Cruise and like having flashbacks to, you know, hooking up with the training like it was fucking Vietnam flashbacks. I'm sorry, Tom. I'm just having trouble focusing. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really glad I got this opportunity, and oh, I did so much to earn it. Oh, I'll never forget. And then have a scene where I have to cry with Tom, and it comes just so naturally. It just he's like, oh, Nick, you're a natural, man. Where'd you get this? And it's like, I don't want to talk about it, Tom. I've had a hard road here. Um, but yeah, dude, I don't know. That's weird with the trannies coming out and labeling these NBA players. Maybe he did it. Maybe he did try to harass her and shit. I don't know. Um, but it's funny, man. That's like the big reaction. Instead of these trannies on Twitter trying to like out people for liking them. Like, first of all, if you want to get accepted into society, how about you don't like out people who are trying to like fuck you on the down low? You know, like I don't know how Eddie Murphy got caught with the tranny hooker. That kind of robbed us of the rest of Eddie Murphy's stand-up career because he doesn't want to go up on stage and address the tranny rumors because that's like that's like in among black people that's a hard fucking thing to admit that you like a little side tranny pussy. You like the not so much the natural pussy that gets boring. The natural pussy that emerges out of life on the planet. You want that pussy that's been crafted by one of these expert plastic surgeons that piece together Caitlyn Jenner like Voltron. You know, it's a handcrafted like everybody likes handcrafted things now. Handcrafted coffee and handcrafted tacos and what about handcrafted vagina? You know, it's nice handcrafted little fucking crevice there. You know, little handcrafted box for you. It's not. It hasn't always been there, but it's man-made and it's handcrafted, so it's organic. Yeah, dude, it's so weird. Um, but yeah, it's that whole subjective thing of you have to believe whatever subjective weird thing people come up with in their head, or else you're like denying their existence, and that makes you a bigot. It's like, no, we kind of need some hard proof that this is what's going on in your brain. Like, if there was something that neurology could show us about what makes a trans person, what makes a gay person gay, like it's so tied up in culture and what's acceptable and what's not, and I think sexuality is definitely a spectrum. I think there are people that are born gay, or with not necessarily born gay, but like born with more feminine proclivities as a man. I think there are men that are born with more feminine proclivities, and then if you compound that with having father absence and single motherhood, um, and they're raised in a way that leads them to take on more feminine traits, that can contribute to it, and then you make a fully homosexual person. Um, but who the fuck knows, man? Like, to treat it as a real, like, concrete phenomenon, you got to have some science behind it, you know. And there's no science behind transgenderism. It's just all this subjective thing that we're just supposed to believe happens, and you know, it's all about being accepting and tolerant, except against white people. Dr. Zarkov says, I think that if I ever came across with a tranny that demanded sex from me, I would be just fine with being called a bigot. I think if I ever came across with a tranny that demanded sex from me, I would be just fine with being called a bigot. Yeah, it's that deception, dude. I'm fine. Like, if there are people who enjoy having sex with transsexual people, okay, And if transsexual people want to try to turn a straight person into being curious about it, all right then. But be upfront with the shit. Don't like try to, you know, get me pot committed to your goddamn handcrafted pussy show, okay? And then, you set me up for all these questions I gotta ask. Is there still a dick in the equation? These are questions that have to be asked, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, that's just, people are going so far to have some kind of identity, because nobody has any purpose or drive in the world anymore, that's attached to any objective truth, or like spreading the truth in the world. It's like, I'm just going to make myself as crazy and fucked up as possible in order for people to pay attention to me. Oh, you want to pay attention to me? I'm going to wear a wig and chop my dick off. Look at me. Look at me. Look at this Twitter tranny here that's accusing Dwight Howard has a book titled Industry Hoe. The fiction book is about a woman who grows into herself in her career, leaving her lover behind. Oh, how romantic. How romantic. Makes herself a career by fucking NBA players and then blowing their spot up on Twitter. These NBA players be getting into a lot of crazy shit, when they're not married, even when they are married, you probably get so much pussy. I don't know, I've heard that argument, like, you get so much pussy, you want some variety. I've hooked up with a lot of girls since I came out here to California. Like, last count, I'm in the 50s with girls I've been with, and back in Oklahoma and in LA, and I don't see the appetite for it ever going down. I don't see there's a point where, like, oh, I'm tired of regular pussy, I'm gonna try some handcrafted tranny situations. or like, the thing with like Mick Jagger and David Bowie, like they both got so much pussy that they decided to fuck each other just because they were bored. I don't know. There's so many exciting experiences to be had with good old regular American vagina. I just don't see, you know, I don't see the allure, ladies and gentlemen. Um, but yeah, like if you if we're supposed to respect what trans people believe in their head about themselves, then why do trans people always try to fuck straight dudes? Trans people always try to like, yeah, I know you say you're straight, but I can convince you. It's like, yeah, I know you think you're a chick in your head, but I can convince you that you're an idiot for cutting your dick off. Like, it's the same thing. Like, straight dudes' identities aren't respected. Like, like it's like a big task to try and like turn a straight dude like gay or get him to hook up with a trans person like, and they didn't know it or like, it's fucking weird, man. Pussies are just like snowflakes. Each one's different. Mm. They're all pretty much the same that I've seen. Some are a little, some are a little tighter. Some are a little looser. Some are, you know, there's all different variations. There's a pussy spectrum there. I've concluded there is a pussy spectrum, and I like mine handcrafted. So anyway, that was just something that was making me laugh on Twitter. This goddamn, like Dwight Howard unleashed his security to stalk this trans woman. You know, I don't know. But now Dwight Howard's gonna have to deal with that shit constantly. Man, don't even talk to the trannies on Twitter, or else you may get your spot blown up there on the social media. Yeah, dude. So we got the loving migrant caravan has reached the border, and they have a lot of pictures of sad brown children, and well, Zarkov, if you feel comfortable being a cis white male, that's bad, because that would mean you're comfortable oppressing minorities and people who aren't as fortunate as you. And like these brown people at the border, okay? Oh, you're just I'm sure you're comfortable in your cis white male world there, buddy. But some people aren't comfortable, so we're going to take your tax money, okay? We're going to give it to them, and then, see, this is what I was talking about earlier on before the stream went down. What's going to happen is we're going to let the migrants in, okay, and you're not going to take a vote on it. It's for your own good, so it's just going to happen. And then what's going to happen is your taxes are going to go up, and when you get your 1099 or your W-2 for the tax season next year, the package will come with a leash on it for all the white people that have to pay their taxes, and it'll say coexist across the leash there. And it's very helpful to the minorities, because then the white people they have to wear the leash to identify themselves as a fucking white male, and they'll wear the leash, and then if they happen to, as they're going about their day, get in the way of any of these loving minorities, then the minorities can use the leash as a handle and maneuver the white person out of the way. And it's like a multicultural like lever, a multicultural tool. It's the tool of multiculturalism to lead the white people around where you need them to be led, and that's very important if you want to be down with multiculturalism. Is you need to wear a leash and be led into the future by our loving migrant rulers, because we're going to elect them to the new government, and that's what needs to happen for progress. Um, and there's all these. This picture is weird. Somebody pointed this out that like, um, yeah, it's a multicultural necklace. You know, you just let the migrants lead you around and do their bidding, and that's freedom and that's progress. Um, but yeah, you see this picture with on Daily Mail. Um, and there's all these like photographers, like it looks like they're staging pictures that look dramatic. All right, now run. All right, now cry. Here's a close up. It's like, yeah, of course they're crying. Their parents chose to like run away from home and try to go illegally cross the border into America. And it's like, did you think this was going to be fun? Yeah, dude. You just America is the doormat for these people to walk all over because white people in general um, don't have any rational self-interest anymore. Because rational self-interest as a white person is akin to white supremacy. If you accept your own identity, you're a supremacist. And you know, if you value your own culture, that means you're automatically devaluing other cultures, which like is an argument that's never used, you know, on anybody else except white people. Um, if you have any pride in your own accomplishments as a white person, you know, Zarkov says, I'm 64, so the leash better come with Social Security benefits because I plan to retire in less than 3 years. Well, that's unfortunate because that retirement money, there's people that need it more than you, and they're brown, and you shouldn't be racist and deny them that right to your wallet. Um, that's forget about the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is old school. I mean, the Constitution is a living document, you know. So the new rights are the rights to fund the lives of people that are less fortunate. That okay, and so we're gonna do that for you, and that's what the government's here for. And we're gonna keep everything nice and loving, and white people bad. Open your wallets, white people bad. White people bad, open your wallets. Brown people good, give them your wallet. You know, uh, what they left out of this picture was the all the all the leftist activists at the border handing out welfare applications and voter registration. You know, get them signed up, dude. We got to take down Trump somehow. Can't convince the American people not to like him. So, you know, we can't convince the American people that the economy would have been better under Hillary. So we got to invite all the loving migrants in and let them vote. Okay, in California, we don't check ID. Okay, we don't check ID to vote in California. All right. Oh yeah, rip down Mount Rushmore for sure. We need to put some nameless migrants up there instead. Just some generic Central American faces up there, because those are the real heroes. Um, but yeah, the left actually makes the argument that voter ID is somehow racist. That they somehow make this argument to try and discredit the idea of having voter ID, which is just basic. You need an ID to buy a pack of cigarettes or a beer. You need an ID to do so many things. You need an ID to go in a nightclub. But you don't need an ID to vote for the policies that everyone is forcibly taxed to live under. You don't need an ID to have a say for that. Like, to go from where it was at the start, where you needed to be a landowner, a property owner to vote, to where it is now, where you don't even have to be a citizen of the country or have an ID, is just absurd. Because the founders knew if you let people that don't own land vote, they will vote to take away the land that from the people who own land. And that's what's happening. That's what's being allowed to happen in this quote unquote, democracy is always good in this democratic society. That's what's happening. You have the takers and the makers. And the makers are paying all the taxes, and the takers are getting benefits back from the government. And that's why we see that increasing industry around the welfare state, and why it continues and why the government keeps growing bigger is because there's all these incentives around it to keep it going and keep keep the makers paying the takers and keep those systems afloat. And what Trump is trying to do is encourage everybody to be makers, everybody to produce things, everybody to take part in the economy and contribute in some way. The left is constantly pushing these agendas to build more and more incentive structures for the takers, for the people who don't or can't contribute. They focus on them and make the argument to steal the makers' money and give to the takers. And so that argument only works so much when you have a population that has the American dream and wants to have opportunity and wants to get rich and doesn't want to sit on their ass and do nothing all day because they know it doesn't feel good. In general, that's the classical American ethic, and the left can't speak to that at all, so they have to import third world migrants who've let their own countries go to shit from not paying attention to politics or not understanding it fully or just being caught up in a corrupt fucking system. And so they're not coming here for 1776. They're not coming here for the Bill of Rights and prosperity and opportunity. And, the main attractor of these people is welfare money. And they know they're going to get sympathy from the media in America on the left. And it's going to be played up as this big, sympathetic, humanitarian crisis. And, Trump is just evil and callous, and he doesn't want to take care of these people, and it's just monstrous. And, Trump just doesn't want to collapse the fucking economy, which I think is, doesn't get enough credit for that. Hey, I don't want to screw you over and collapse the economy. Hillary didn't give a damn about collapsing the economy. She just wanted to come off as looking compassionate with all this flowery language around her communistic policies. And then when the economy ultimately collapses, you could just blame Wall Street, like what happened with Obama. Even though Wall Street funded your campaign and you have a safety net under Wall Street, which allows them to do these predatory practices and not have the fear of actually going bankrupt because they know they're going to have the government to bail them out and have their back. Zarkov says the Dems claim to want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and at the same time want to import cheap labor. Yeah. It the minimum wage is an absurdly stupid idea, because all you're going to end up doing is passing the costs on to the consumer, because then all these businesses are going to they're not going to just raise the wages of their employees and not make any other changes. It's either going to be they're going to hire less employees, so less people are going to get employed, or they're going to raise their prices, and everybody in society suffers from paying higher prices for every one of their commodities. So there's always a backlash to this centrally planned, top-down, like mandated economic changes. If you don't let things occur naturally, like they would in the free market, then you turn people into criminals for working less than $15 an hour. You turn the employer into a criminal. You turn the employee into a criminal. Now they have to work under the table. Now it's less likely they're going to get that job anyway because the employer's taking so much risk having them off the books. Yeah, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. And then you get more and more homeless people, more and more people out of work, and you know, it's a stupid surface level way of looking at economics that you can just change the minimum wage and make the businesses pay it. It's like they're not going to totally change their business model because you wrote on a piece of paper that they have to pay $15 for their employers. They're going to hire less people and raise their prices, and everybody, and it's not gonna help the workers because there's going to be fewer of them, and it's not going to help the consumer because the prices are going to be higher. What they need to do is raise these transgender people's wages, okay? Because they have to expend twice as much energy trying to find people who are willing to fuck them, okay? So their personal lives are twice as hard, all right? So they need to be compensated for that and get paid double what everyone else is, just to, provide a nice little incentive there for chopping your cock off. Um, and making sure that the Sharia law can be instituted in the next 20 years or so. So, we're going to try to get as many of the straight white males to change their mind and chop their cocks off. We're going to try to get as many of them to go gay as possible, gay and trans. We're going to try to do that. We're going to try to get the transgender kid agenda rolling, and we're going to get that going. And then 15, 20 years down the road, then we're going to finally get a Democratic politician in power, and he's going to fully open the borders and let all of the loving, you know, immigrants from third world countries come in and take over. And then we're going to be under Sharia law, and everything's going to be super progressive. Okay, you're not going to have to worry about a thing as long as you're not white. You're not going to have to worry about anything as long as you're not white and still have your cock. Sarkov says having to dress up as a tranny seems to be more work than it could possibly be worth. So much work. Your entire life has to be about, like Caitlyn Jenner got her hair follicles removed. I'm just going to call him Bruce. Bruce got his hair follicles removed on his face. And so he could be nice and smooth and smooch with his tranny girlfriend. But this is normal. Bill Nye says this is normal, and so it's normal. And there's 52 different genders, and then there's there's 52 different ways you can send Al Gore your check for climate to save the climate. So we're going to save the climate, and we're going to get rid of that cock. Okay? It's going to be good. Never mind that there's poles. Never mind that there's ice on the poles, and we're technically still in an ice age. I read that big climate report. There was this big there was this big bombshell climate report. Oh, White House climate report contradicts Trump's views on climate change. And they put out this big document that had zero data in it. Look it up. White House climate report. Just Google that, and it'll make all these claims that it directly contradicts, and it links the California wildfires and the hurricanes to the increasing CO2 in the atmosphere, and it shows zero data. Yes, we're going to plug the holes in the ozone layer with those chopped off cocks. That's perfect. That's the kind of innovation we're looking for here. That's the kind of innovation we're looking for. We're going to take the chopped off cock material, and we're going to combine it all together, and we're going to stretch it out and block the sun out. And that's going to be peace on earth. We're going to get our free healthcare, our free college. We're going to let the Muslim migrants come over and institute Sharia law. We're all going to wear our leashes as white people, be led around by the multicultural overlords. And then we're going to block the sun out with cockskin. And that's the ultimate progressive society we're looking to get to. That's the ultimate goal right there. And then we have a nice, screeching, overweight, plus-size, blue-haired feminist who is the head dictator of the society, and she will march the straight white males into the camps where they belong. And that's the happy ending we're all progressing towards. They chopped off so many cocks it was blocked out the sun. Oh, good. It was a sight to be seen. Oh, dude. I think we're going to wrap up the live stream on that note, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be at the Fourth Wall Comedy Club tonight, 10 o'clock, rocking it out. And I will have my cock out. There will not be any cock shopping. We're keeping our cocks, all right, for America. You know, we got to fight back with phallic fortitude. It's what we need, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, Bitcoin address is below if you want to send me some shekels. I would very much appreciate. Love you guys. Be back tomorrow. Facebook, Nick Jordan, if you want to add me. It's me with a microphone. My picture on the Facebook, and then Nick Jordan himself. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll be sharing clips out from the podcast and whatnot. Yeah, baby. Outrage TV. Outrage TV. Signing out. Oh yeah, Bitcoin. You know, don't diss Bitcoin, Barry White. It's still the revolution. We got to get people on board the decentralized money there. Super important. But that's maybe I'll talk about Bitcoin tomorrow and how I knew about it in 2007 and invested nothing and deeply regret it. All right. So yeah, Nick Jordan signing off for the Outrage Cast. I'll see you beautiful motherfuckers tomorrow. And yeah, love y'all. Mwah.